What's up, y'all? How are we doing? Um, yeah, this is a struggle. This will be a struggle this episode. After a disappointing result in the Open Cup in Lancaster, Orange County returned to the USL Championship and laid an egg in Oakland. I talked about it with Larry last week. Even though my score prediction was positive, I was worried about Oakland circling the date to get revenge on Orange County in this match. We're going to talk about that. We're going to look ahead to the Jägermeister Cup. Let's get this thing going. Welcome to the Show of Champions. This is the Orange and Black Soccer Cast. How's it going, Orange County? Welcome to another episode of the Orange and Black Soccer Cast, the first and only show dedicated to Orange County Soccer Club, its fans and supporters. I'm your host, Ray Samora. I'm going to take you through this journey as we discuss all things Orange County Soccer Club. Let's see who's helping me out tonight. First, the one that goes all the way back to 2018 with this show. That is Dylan. Dylan, how are you feeling? How are you doing?
I wasn't in a great mood already, but when I realized that it's almost been 7 years that I've been doing this, I feel like I'm in an even worse one. And in all seriousness, I'm all right. It's April. We're plugging away.
It seems like Orange County is doing typical April things and struggling a little bit early on in the season. We'll maybe see if that statement is somewhat accurate with someone that's been following this team for quite some time as well. A special joining us guest back. Apparently, we didn't scare you off, Matt. Welcome. This is Matt Elder from Counterline Coalition.
How's it going, guys?
It's going. How are you? Let me ask you. How are you doing, and how are you feeling after the last couple weeks here that we've seen from Orange County?
I mean, it's not great, but I'm always I wouldn't say I'm an optimist, but I'm usually in the middle somewhere. Never get too high with the highs, never get too low with the lows. For me, we won the championship after having like the worst starting 3 or 4 months ever. So I think ever since then, especially like a rough April, May, June, even. I mean, it is what it is. As long as we get into the dance, you know, as long as we turn around at some point, I'm not going to panic till July, if it's still going poorly. But we know this is going to be up and down. We know this offense is going to take some time to gel, or at least it seems like that's going to be the case. I hope. Got a couple players that need to come back from injury, so I'm not panicking until we have like a full strength squad that still struggles after some time.
And we'll get into this most recent match against Oakland, but I didn't get to speak to either of y'all. It was just me and Larry last week, or Larry and myself. And I just want to get your thoughts on Orange County in the Open Cup against AV Alta. And is there anything that either of you can maybe think or fathom as to why Orange County seems to year in and year out struggle in the Open Cup? I want to go to you first, Dylan. Your thoughts, just overall thoughts of the match. We're not going to talk about it too much. And what do you think as the reason for the struggles in the Open Cup?
It's not a serious competition. I mean, who signs with us and their goal is I want to win the Open Cup? Like, no, the eyes are on the prize at the end of the year, come November. And would it be cool to be up there? Did Sacramento have a great run, and did they love it? I'm sure they did. But also, the cards are stacked against you no matter how it goes. And when you're not a burrito shop, it's just not as much fun.
Sorry, Matt, your thoughts on the Open Cup performance this year, and why are we struggling year in and year out in the Open Cup?
I mean, I was thinking about that during the game and after the game, especially. I really think we see it a lot in England and other countries where there's a cup match. Like, unless you're one of the big guns in England, you often will lose to a team in a lower division. And the biggest reason, easily, is just because they care more. They like to them, like, there's a reason we see cup sets. There's a reason we see, teams struggle. It's because that lower, smaller team is like way. You could tell AV Alta for a large portion of that game well-coached team also, but like they were just up for it. Like they were pressing like crazy. They just seemed to kind of care more, and you could tell for our team, it's there's that part of you that's like, did they just expect to win, to walk in and just, we're the better team, we're gonna win. You got to match the effort in order for the class to come through. So I think it's just really that. I think it's not the first time it's happened. It's not going to be the last. You know, we'll hopefully do it to an MLS team someday, or have one of those freak results. So you know, I'm I'm just used to it at this point too. I guess like it really is just a matter of, like it's like a coin flip whether we're going to beat a team lower than us, and we're of course also they're probably playing their best team. I don't know what AV Alta did as far as the strength of their team goes, but we're we didn't rotate as much as that's probably the most frustrating thing for me is we didn't rotate as much as I thought we might, and that's usually a good excuse. Is oh, we changed our whole team up or at least half of it. It looks like you can tell that there's a bit of shakiness there, but this is kind of our first team, so that's might be the most frustrating thing, but it is what it is.
Now, it is what it is. And unfortunately, the struggle, and like you said, Matt, it was pretty much our first team out there, at least our first team when you take into account who was healthy, who was not. I think that was probably the most disappointing part of this because in years past, there was some rotation. You have maybe some fringe players or even maybe one or two of the youth players playing in the early rounds like this against the lower divisions. Okay, enough talk about the Open Cup. It's done with for Orange County. We will talk about the other cup competition that they're participating in this year, which is cool and fun because it's first year for that. It's feeling more and more like England type build of the soccer pyramid. Every year we move
League
on in
Cup.
the USL. Yes, but before we get to that, we do got to talk about the result this weekend. So after a disappointing result in the Open Cup, knocked out in the first opportunity to make the run. Orange County then travels up to Oakland to face the Roots in the former home of the Oakland A's, the Oakland Coliseum. Oakland Alameda Coliseum. I can't remember what the exact official name of the Coliseum is these days, but oh, tough one. Orange County, within 10 minutes is down a goal. About another 15 to 20 minutes later, down 2 goals, and it was a struggle. And I'm going to ask you all for your overall thoughts in this match, and then we'll get into some more of the details and other questions. So I'll go to you first, Dylan. What are your thoughts on Orange County's results in Oakland against the Roots?
Thankfully, just one result so far. I mean, we can talk about results, multiple towards the end of the year. If you're watching the highlights, if you look very closely, you can watch one person put his arms above his head and just drop his chin. That's yours truly. I was optimistic heading into this match. I thought, okay, we can bounce back from a bad cup result. We can get to it. And as soon as we conceded, it felt like we were never going to come back. It was kind of weird. They're playing on an old baseball field, but it seems like it's actually a reasonably size. It's not a super short pitch. It seemed slow, and I've seen a bunch of comments about how slow it seemed, and that felt accurate. I think we see that with Kyle Scott's back pass. One, I think it's a uncharacteristic mistake, and it just really cost him. But also, just constantly, it seemed like the ball wasn't moving. But Orange County couldn't get out of their own way, and they couldn't get out of their own half. And, well, Oakland was up to press, and Orange County had no plan B for how to deal with that one. I do want to give some credit to Chris Hagart and Cameron Dunbar. Hagart, in particular, looked angry to not be starting. And when he came on, he looked determined to try to prove, you know what, I deserve to be out here. I deserve to be starting. This is my spot that someone else has taken. So I'll give him credit for that and for being so dynamic, both of them being so dynamic, because I think, Ryan Dogman might have had our best chance, but those two certainly created all we had going forward.
Yeah. I won't even dig into that. I want to give Matt a chance to talk, but just talk about the size of the pitch. What we do know about the stadium, right, is it's not a soccer pitch being fit into a true baseball stadium. This is one of those multi-purpose stadiums that was built to house NFL, baseball, and whatever other sporting event you could fit in there. Thus, you have the space because of the NFL sort of dimensions when the Raiders were playing there in the past. There's the space to do that, the flexibility with a stadium like that, which is nice to see because I think we all hate to see those compact fields that are being squeezed into a very small only baseball pitch. Matt, your thoughts on this match, and then I'm going to also add this question on top of you because we all can think back to the first match for Orange County this season at home against Oakland. It looked like we were going to be a very good offensive team. It looked like we even had a pretty good option at defense. We just sort of took the pedal off towards the end of the match and conceded a couple goals late in the match. So talk about this match, and then I want you to sort of let us know, like, what are you looking at? What is the more realistic look of Orange County? Is it that opening match, or is this match more what we should expect from Orange County?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know. I would expect as the season goes on, we look a little more like the first game of the season. We're gonna concede some goals. We should hopefully score more. I think it's tough to say because it was a different team, a different offense that played against in those two games, right? In the first game, we have, Zubak leading the line, and I have my criticisms of him, but I don't know how much I like War leading the line. I don't see him being as much of a, in the box striker as Zubak might be. I think Dunbar not starting or being kind of fully fit that, in this game versus last game. So it's a different team. Not having Duty, I mean, that's another thing. I mean, he was very good in that Oakland game in the first game of the season. So, I think it's a little bit of a different team. I don't know. And then general thoughts, I don't know. It's one of those things you expect to beat a team like Oakland. So I'm never like, I have to, say that. But at the same time, like, it's not like we got dominated by Oakland, right? Like, we have one bad back pass that kind of starts us off on the back foot. We have another kind of scrappy goal that they get. And then it's really just comes down to the fact that we just didn't create a whole lot. We had some chances, just didn't put them away. On another day, maybe we get the draw there. Um, you know, some teams want to make their home a fortress, and Oakland has a coliseum. So, maybe they're gonna just be a defensive team and just try to squeak 1-0s, 2-0s. It's I don't know. I chalk it way more up to a bad day at the office than I do like a damning indictment. And like I said earlier, I do think Traeger comes back, Zubak, Dunbar to full fitness, McKinnon gets up and running a little bit. Definitely a conversation to have about him. It just seems off, but yeah, I don't know. I'm not too concerned, and it was just a bad game. We just couldn't get things going. And I do agree. I think I wasn't at the game like Dylan was, but like that pitch, I mean, it is crazy to me that you see it so common in like England and other places where they water the pitch. This clearly just was so slow. You could tell that for the first 10, 20 minutes of the game, every pass was short. And you could tell that something, whether it's the grass being long or dry or whatever it was just catching the ball. And to me, that's one of those things. It's like, come on, man. Like we're trying to be a professional league. You gotta have a better pitch than that.
Well, let's do this. Let's talk about this pitch. And Dylan, you were there, so you can maybe attest a little bit more. Was it only the OC players that looked like they were struggling with the pitch, or was it both teams that looked like they were struggling with the pitch? Because a case could be made when you look at like even in other sports, like in baseball, the home team, the field crew will sort of do some things or not do some things to sort of make an advantage for the home team. So maybe did Oakland look like they're used to the conditions of the pitch, and maybe this is what to expect in Oakland, a slower pitch to sort of throw other teams off. What do you think, Dylan?
I think if you look at the two goals they scored, I mean, one's obviously a gift from Kyle Scott, and then Partita just gets caught in possession and then doesn't, and oddly, be given my criticism of him in the past, oddly does not just drag his man or hack his man to the ground. But they're not playing these really long passes. It did look like they were more familiar with it and they figured it out a little bit faster. I do believe they train off-site, but it just looked like they were willing to play a little bit faster. And I know that's typically when things don't go well, it's like, well, what's the issue? Well, they just need to move the ball faster. But I literally mean Oakland was putting power into every pass, and on occasion meant that they had little bobbles with their first touch, but it did mean that their passes actually got to where they needed to go. And I will say this is a lot better than the old carpet turf days. I'm glad that that nightmare is behind us.
Well, it's nice to see that the grounds crew at the Coliseum trying to make it look like the old field a little bit with the very, very distinctive hash marks there, or pattern on the pitch, however, whatever you want to say. I don't know what the official term is, so shoot me if butcher me in the comments if I'm butchering these words. So hey, we could play it off as maybe the grounds crew at Oakland is trying to give their home team a little bit of an advantage and make it harder for the visiting teams. Maybe the visiting teams will learn going into the future, or maybe this is just poor groundsmanship at the stadium heading into this match. Who knows? It's so new. We'll figure this out later. Matt wanted to, I guess, dig into a little bit with Liam McKinnon a little bit. I guess you're seeing something that is bothering you, frustrating you with him so far.
I don't know if it's fitness or if he's just a little slower than I expected. I didn't watch. I'm not gonna pretend like I watched a whole lot of him last season or a lot of game film, but like I don't know. I'm hoping it's really just fitness or just getting back from injury. I know he had that little kind of knock in the preseason, so maybe it's just a bit of that. But like he gets on the ball and it just kind of seems to slow down a little bit. I don't know if that's just his game, if he's just not someone who's really gonna like use pace to kind of beat you, but it just feels like my fear is I was hoping he'd be kind of the Milan, right? And just cut inside. But Milan had the speed to kind of keep you guessing. And if Liam doesn't have that, then I'm a little nervous that teams will just make him cut down the line rather than cut in on the 18, which is what we want him to do. We want him to cut in on his right and just take that shot. If teams know he's going to do that, then they're going to be like, go ahead, run down the line, beat me. And if we have no one in the box that can score, whether it's a header or a fox in the box like Zubak, then I don't know. I just don't see him being as effective. And again, I don't know if he's not beating a man because he just can't, or if it's just like he just needs to get up to speed a little bit. So I'm kind of not writing him off or anything yet, obviously, but just something I've kind of noticed when I've seen him on the ball, where he kind of just, come on, man, like get going a little bit more. So I don't know.
Maybe I'm hoping maybe it seems like McKinnon and Dogman are still trying to sort of figure out that chemistry on that left side. I'm hoping once they figure that out, because we all know Dogman is really good at setting up the left winger, whoever's in that position, with some really amazing passes. We've even seen some of that with McKinnon this season, just maybe not the result that we want as far as a goal in the back of the net. But yeah, I get what you're saying, Matt. It's a little bit of a struggle so far, because I think the difficult thing for McKinnon is coming in as the Golden Boot winner in League One. There's some pretty hefty expectations of you to almost make an immediate impact at the championship level, because you've proven that you could do it at League One above and beyond everyone else. So it's expecting, I think fans like us, Orange County fans, expected a lot out of him heading into this. Dylan, let me ask you this question. And this is in relation to not just this match, but sort of what we've seen with Zubak out. We've had Mohamedou War seems to be the primary option for Coach Stone up top in place back, and those are two different players, different builds, different heights, different types of athleticism, physicality, and whatnot. Would you see maybe, or would you think there's another option on this roster that maybe can slot in and maybe play more of a Zubak role? Maybe a McKinnon. He looks a little bit more physical, a little bit bigger. Maybe he could play a little bit more of that Zubak role. Or is it basically there's no one that can play that Zubak role, and we just have to go with what we have in Mohamedou Warren and play with that until Ethan gets healthy?
I think we just have to figure it out. It's pretty clear that Ethan Zubak is the number 9. I mean, he literally wears the shirt and is also just going to play whenever possible. I think War is actually quite good in, he needs to figure out how he fits in. But if the ball's not getting to him, what is he going to do? I think putting McKinnon there is almost a waste of McKinnon's creativity. He created 37 chances last year in League One, and massive shout out to John Morrissey for having a nice, easy way to find all these stats. But while he did shoot more than anybody else, he he created the second most chances in League One. So ultimately, I think it's working. McKinnon needs to kind of, the whole team especially, but McKinnon just needs to get kind of comfortable and I think fully match fit. Most of his creativity, I think, and most of his usefulness comes when he's being pretty direct and he can get around and separate from a defender and put a shot on target. Having someone there that's quick to run with him, open up space for him, and either be a target or finish off a shot is going to be a key. But, Orange County's got to get out of their own way and they've got to get out of their own half. We didn't see that on Saturday, but
Yeah, I think it
there's
does come down to like gelling a little bit more too. Like I feel like I saw, I don't know if it was this game or Sacramento. There seemed to be a time where I saw it looked like Kyle Scott got really mad at McKinnon at some point. And I think maybe that's just gelling, trying to figure out like you got to know when to make these runs, when to come close, when to go over the top, stuff like that. I know I've seen it like twice where it looks like Kyle Stott, whether he was trying to go over the top or whether he wanted him to check in and come close, and they just weren't on the same page. So hopefully that's something that with time they get on the same page and helps a lot. Plus, like you said, Dogman being back to being suspended and kind of getting back into it too, and him gelling with him, knowing when to overlap and all that. A lot of that I think will help as well.
We saw this last year with Zubac as well, where it was a slow start for him, and I think he owns that and would admit that. And once he got firing, once everyone kind of figured out, the chances started coming, and it wasn't a goal every game, but it was a chance. Might have been saved, might have been wide, whatever. But once we got it figured out, it just takes time, and McKinnon is a new face on this team that's operated without someone that's particularly similar to him. I think Cameron Dunbar is a different player who can beat a man because of his ability on the ball and his ability to dribble. I think Chris Hagart is similar to Cameron Dunbar in that regard. Bryce Jamison, I think, could just beat a man because he's just so much stronger and faster than them. So it's been a while since we've had someone that can kind of progress the ball, but isn't being asked to do too much, rather than just like get forward and either fashion chance or finish one.
Yeah, I think my only reason I suggest like maybe is there potential of McKinnon up top while Zubac is unavailable is because we've seen a couple times he's probably the one player on this roster, probably even better than Zubac, that can receive the ball back to the goal and turn around and blast it with power on target. Not many players in the USL Championship probably have that type of capability consistently, let alone on Orange County's roster. And again, it's hard and it sucks. I get why you build the roster with a Zubac and a War because they're two polar opposites as far as the style of play, the physicality, the speed, and what they can bring to the pitch. But when you lose one, then you're reliant on the other. And if you're still trying to play sort of that hold the ball up top or holding striker, someone that's going to receive that ball, which seems like what they've tried with War so far. It's difficult. Who knows? Well, Orange County will have an opportunity to get back on the winning side of things this weekend in the team's debut in the Jägermeister Cup, the USL. Is it the USL Cup? I guess is what's the, I know the sponsorship is Jägermeister, but we can assume that's not going to last forever. So let's just say the USL Cup, right? Hey, let me just ask
I
you
think
all,
technically that is something different. That is something that we hoisted at the end of 2021.
is that, well, the USL Championship Cup? It's all weird.
I think
It's
we could
all
start a
weird with the way
semantics
this works.
podcast. Matt's just sitting here and just not having any of this, but
I would assume that there is a USL Championship Cup, a USL League One Cup, and a USL Cup, which is sort of the overall like USL interleague type thing going on, right? But let's talk about this. Let me just ask y'all your thoughts on this. Is this an amazing, a fun thing for y'all? Is this something where you're like, if we win, great, but I don't care? What are your thoughts? I'm going to go to you first, Matt.
I think my only downside to it is that it took games out of the regular season schedule. The fact that I think they took like 4 games off of the normal schedule to make up for this. I'm not a huge fan of, but I do, to me, it's just another fun trophy. It's one that we realistically have a better shot at winning, if we're being honest, than the Open Cup. Um, to me, why not have a go at it, and especially this year, right? Like, it'd be pretty awesome to be the first team to win it. Um, that's assuming it doesn't just go on for like a year or two and then get scrapped, but that might even be funnier. So I don't know. I'm not like, there's no history to it. It's not like this is a historic championship cup whatever to win. But hey, it's a trophy. Like
Now,
those.
let me ask. I just want to get clarification. Can we say we were the first to win it? Because I believe it officially started last year, where it was just League One, I believe, that participated in it.
Doesn't count.
With, so I don't know the official semantics of it. Dylan, do you know?
Last year was a League One cup, but it was technically awarded. So,
Okay.
I think it counts.
Let's talk about this first and foremost. For those that are unfamiliar with the Jägermeister Cup, the teams are divided into, I believe, 6 groups. Orange County got paired into a group with their opponent this week in Las Vegas, AV Alta. So there will be an opportunity maybe to avenge something there. Monterey Bay, Oakland, Sacramento, and Spokane Velocity, which is sort of the one lone, like, super far. Are you okay, Dylan?
What city in Eastern Washington was that?
Spokane?
All right, please.
Spokane, sorry. But yeah, there'll be an opportunity for Orange County to maybe get things corrected and get back on the winning side, where without the stress of having to worry about the actual, like, USL Championship schedule and results. We'll get more into this match, but we do have a guest that's going to be joining us here, and it'll be their first time on the show, so we don't want to keep them waiting too long. This guest scored an amazing free kick early on in the season. I think that surprised many of us. If it didn't, then what are you watching? And that's none other than Nico Benalcazar, the defensive midfielder, whatever you may call, for Orange County Soccer Club. Let's welcome him on. Nico, let's get you onto the show. How are you doing, Nico?
Yes, we can.
Yes, thanks so much for having me on. Nice to meet you
There we
guys.
go. Nice to meet you, Nico. First and foremost, welcome to our show, and welcome to Orange County officially. I know, first season here with the club. How's the transition been for you? How are you fitting in here with this team, this group of players? How are you feeling?
No, it's been great so far. Coming here, I mean, like, the weather, I always emphasize that part. It's been great. I feel like anywhere you can play, in the hot weather, the sun, all the time, almost every day, I think it makes the transition much easier. But with the group, I have a lot of good friends now on the team after being here for 2.5 months now. So, it's been a great transition so far, and I'm having a lot of fun.
So you talk about the weather. So what is it about playing in the warmer weather? Because when you watch this sport, it takes place all over the world, and you have some countries that are really good and have really strong, powerful leagues that are really cold weather climate countries. What is it for you as a soccer player that you prefer playing in the warmer weather as opposed to maybe that colder weather that you see some other players thrive in?
Yeah, of course. I mean, even at home, from Connecticut, where I'm from, it's cold most of the year. So I feel like just getting out of that and playing, in the sun, it reminds me of when I was little and going to, Florida, those summer camps where it's, more fun. You're having a good time, and I feel like every morning I wake up here, it's, I'm having a good time playing again in the sun. So I would say that's probably the main reason why I say playing in the sun is much better. But obviously, like you had said, you just got to add a few more layers on in those other countries where it's colder.
Uh, Let me ask you this: what intrigued you about joining Orange County, from where you've been previously, or what was it about Orange County that you're like, that's the team I want to go play for, other than the weather?
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, Orange County has always been a huge team in the USL. I know. I mean, they won the league in 2021. Even last year, towards the end of last year, the team was looking really good. And I had a good friend who played here, Ian Hoffman, and we grew up in the same town. Uh, Throughout my time in Connecticut, we grew up in Wilton, Connecticut together. So he had nothing but good things to say about here. So, with a combination of all those things, and just especially the way they want to play and how we want to continue to play this year. It's been something that was very appealing to me, towards the end of last year.
And again, in our introduction or introducing you to the show, I talked about the amazing free kick that you took. When did you realize that that's something that you are proficient at? And what was it like being the new player, the newcomer on this team, and stepping into that type of position? Because typically that's, sort of a hierarchy. It's hard to just jump into that role. What was it about everything there that is like, this is Nico's kick and he's going to make it?
Yeah, of course. Ever since I first stepped foot here, especially during preseason, during training, people stay afterwards, do their PKs, do their free kicks, do extra things. And, my whole life, I pretty much worked on my free kicks. Never really taken many of them, but I've always known that I've been, pretty good at them. So, I got here. The first two preseason games, I was on free kicks. We didn't get a chance to take any, but, my name was on them. So, it wasn't necessarily like a, hey, I want to do it, let me take it. It was more so it was, told to us before the game. So it was lucky enough I didn't have to fight anyone off the ball, and, I was able to, take it, make it. It was definitely a long road of training up until that point to make it. And I would say my parents being there as well gave me a little bit more extra motivation to really focus and hit it well.
Glad that you were okay. I think everyone saw you slip, and I panicked when I saw that. But Nico, in addition to apparently being great with free kicks, you're rather versatile of a player. I think Saturday marks the third position you've played. Is that something that you look at as a strength, or is it just something where you're happy to fill whatever role it is, as long as that you're playing?
Yeah, I always say, playing anywhere on the field is, where I want to be. I just want to be on the field, helping the team as much as I can. I definitely think it's a strength, and having that trust from Danny, the coaching staff to put me wherever, I think is a good thing. But also, a lot of people always ask me, what position you think you're best at, and I always just say I'm a soccer player. So, put me wherever, and I'll do my best. And I've watched a lot of soccer growing up. I've played a lot growing up, so it's been a combination of all those things where it's, understand how to play here because I've watched it so much, and I understand how to play, even at midfield sometimes because I've watched the game a lot. So it's definitely a strength, I would say, especially now with, injuries all over the field, pretty much. And, having to step up in different spots, not knowing who's going to be where, having those multiple positions in my bag is definitely something good.
You've talked a few times now, you've mentioned a few times now about growing up and kind of your path to Orange County. It's not exactly like you're an unknown quality. Obviously, you're the captain at Wake Forest, but, where have things gone and what led you, kind of Orange County at this point in your life?
Yeah, no, like you had said, I think my career as a whole hasn't necessarily been, as linear or perfect, like many other people that I've seen, or a few of my good buddies from the academy, even at New York City FC. But I would say that I have been extremely fortunate in places that I have played. I played 2 years after school at New York. Very possession-based style of football, and something that I grew up playing in. All the old coaches, all my old teammates, were pretty much on the team. And even last year, towards Cincinnati, where it was definitely a different, formation, but in terms of how they wanted to play, very possession-based, and playing especially on the first team through Lucho Acosta, who to this day I say is the best player I've seen in real life. So I would say a combination of all those things, being able to be versatile and playing all these different positions, like you were saying before. Um, I would say definitely led me to coming here and being able to perform in the way that I have so far.
Nico, when you were growing up, did you have a specific player that you modeled your game after?
Yeah, so my whole life I've been a Barca fan. I've been an Iniesta fan. I think how he plays is amazing. I've always played. I grew up playing, the 10 side, so I feel like I always want to go forward, move forward. But as I started to get a bit older and started playing center back more often, I really enjoyed watching Puyol and Piqué because they were Barca players. But at the same time, Sergio Ramos, who he is on the opposite team, from Real Madrid. Even though he was on that team, he always, intrigued me, and that smartness as well as that physicality and stuff that he brings and leadership that he brings, I think definitely stood out to me, and he's been one of my favorite players ever since.
All right. One question from chat. So, how do you prepare yourself for a game?
Yeah, so I would say it pretty much starts for me mentally, the day before. I tend to always eat the same thing the night before, whether it's, rice and chicken or pasta and chicken. I think it just changes based on how I'm feeling that day or whatever I have for lunch that day as well. I try and have the opposite. And then the day of, I normally just hang out. It depends if I have, my family here. I tend to go eat breakfast with them and sort of have a chill pretty much morning. Um, and then I always take a nap before the game, whether it's an hour, an hour and a half, just to get my mind right. Obviously hop in the shower after that, and after that it's pretty much go time. But yeah, I wouldn't say there's any crazy superstitions. I know during my time at Wake, I was super had to do this, and then I just got in my head if I didn't do something correctly. So I sort of took a step back from that and started to play a bit more freely because it felt like if you're going to just play pick up with your buddies, I felt like I always played the best there. So I've sort of tried to bring that feeling towards the games here.
Okay. So, maybe tougher question. So, a couple rough results lately. What do you kind of do to try to, whether it's kind of just a little extra work, or what do you guys try to do to kind of get things right or turn things around when you're in kind of a bad run of form or a bad, the team's just not, things just aren't going right for the team?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, definitely not the stretch that we want to be on, but I think the confidence in the group is still super high. I know we were talking about in training today. The past 5 days have been pretty tough. Obviously, you never want to lose any game, regardless of where you play. But at the same time, the team works hard, every day. I don't think we come into training saying, "Hey, we have to work a bit harder," because we do that every day. But I would say, in terms of me personally, I always want to, try and go above and beyond whatever I do to try and help the team. So whether it's stay and work on left foot passes or right foot passes, or hey, I saw this a lot, in the last game that we played against them. Let's try and work on this, leading up to the game. So I would say, the assistant coaches, the head coach, they give us time after training to sort of pick out something that we want to work on, and we go pretty much from there. But in terms of actual drills, actual stuff that we do during training, it stays pretty much consistent. I think we all know that we have a job to do. We have to win games, and I think moving forward we'll be doing that. So.
All right, easy question, then a harder question. New York food or Orange County food?
I would say New York pizza is very good. I would say, generally speaking, all the food over there is good, but over here the Mexican food is pretty unbelievable. So I would say half half for sure.
Well, we'll always have that.
Yeah,
And then New Haven pizza or New York pizza?
New Haven pizza.
All right. Ray, you got something? Dylan?
Yeah, I'm gonna jump in here, Nico. We're gonna keep on with the food. What is your favorite vegetable, and how do you prepare it?
Favorite vegetable. I really like carrots. I actually just finished eating it, so it's definitely probably still in my mind. But I like to cook it in the oven. It's a little softer and a little crunchier on the outside. Not I don't like eating them, cold, but I like them, pretty hot. We had them a lot growing up, so I would say probably carrots.
Fair enough. If you couldn't tell, you've definitely passed the difficult part of this interview, and it's all either downhill or easier from here, depending on how you look at it. Ray, take it away.
Well, since Dylan didn't get into the topic, this next topic, I will. It's a two-parter here. So first is, if you were to open up your Spotify, Apple, iTunes Music, whatever you use to listen to music, what song is probably playing right now?
Right now, so I'm a huge Drake fan. So Nokia is one of his new songs. It's more upbeat. I've been listening to it a lot before games just to get in a good mood. So um, probably Nokia by Drake right now.
Awesome. So then this is another question we've asked players in the past. I'll ask you this: who has the best taste in music out of your teammates?
I would say Scylla. He's Uzman Scylla. That's we call him. Sorry, I call him Scylla. It's very Afrobeat related. Some French, is hidden in there as well. But he, we hang out a lot, and he's always in charge of the speakers. So I would say he has a very good taste in music.
And then who are you hoping does not get the opportunity to plug in their phone into the aux system in the dressing room? Who are you hoping you don't have to hear their music?
I would probably say Mohammed War, because mainly you'll probably get a little bit of Japanese music, which no one really understands. But I would say it's very very old school. He has a lot of throwbacks. But yeah, probably Mo for sure.
All right, really quick before I get into my last little bit, there are some questions on
Okay,
Instagram that have come through. One of
nice.
them is from Nico Cesar Tadeo. Basically asked, now that you're with OC, are you aware of the great opportunities players have to go to Europe, and does that motivate you more to perform well here in OC?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think in the back of everyone's mind, you always want to try and maximize your career and move up in any way you can. Obviously, I would say it's right now, especially how we're moving as a team, it's probably in the back of my mind. I think it's more important we focus on the team doing well as a whole, and I think once we start winning games, more individuals will start to get more recognized. So I would say the better we do here with Orange County, which is where my mind is at right now, the hopefully better it would be in the future for sure.
And then also on Instagram, someone by the name of Grace and Duty is asking if you have any superpower, or if you could have any superpower, what would it be? And I'm going to add why.
Why? I would say I would probably say be able to fly. One, because the gas here in California is unbelievably expensive, so it's terrible to drive and then having to pay for the gas. But then two, I mean, just to get places quick. I mean, I think birds definitely have it way easier than us.
Awesome. One last thing we're going to do here, and then we'll start wrapping things up, is we like to do this quick rapid fire 10 questions, this or that. You give the first answer that comes to your mind. Don't think about it. Quick
Yeah,
response. This is just to help our fans know. And this is just total fun. There's a little bit
great.
of a theme going on here. I'm sure y'all will be able to figure this out. Are you ready, Nico?
Perfect. Let's do it.
And Matt sort of took my first question slightly, but it's slightly different. And, you know, tell me if I'm wrong, if I do anything wrong with pronunciation here. But first question, New Haven style beets or California style pizza?
New Haven style beats for sure.
Awesome. Rocky Long Island Sound beaches or the sandy beaches of the Pacific Ocean?
I'm gonna have to go with the sandy beaches of the Pacific Ocean.
All right. Vibrant fall foliage or mild sunny autumn days?
Mild sunny autumn days.
Yukon Huskies basketball or Anaheim Ducks hockey?
Yukon basketball.
Lobster rolls or fish tacos?
Lobster rolls.
4 distinct seasons or pretty much warm and sunny year round?
4 seasons. 100%.
Hiking through forests or surfing?
Hiking through forests.
All right. Metro North commuter rail or driving along PCH?
That's a tough one. I'm gonna have to go Metro North because it passes the
Awesome.
water, passes through the city, has everything.
There we go. Historic and traditional or laid back and trendy?
Laid back and trendy.
All right. And the last one, scoring the big goal or making the big stop to save the match?
Definitely making the big stop.
Awesome. And if you didn't know, most of those questions were basically Connecticut versus Orange County,
Yeah, yeah, you
California
can tell them.
related questions. So that's where we went with that. With that, I believe that is everything we have here, Nico. Do you have any last words you want to share with those listening live or those that may be listening later on in the recorded option of this? What do you have to say to the fans?
Yeah, no. First, thanks to you guys for inviting me. This has been awesome. I've been, keeping up. I saw Tom's rapid questions. I saw Grayson's. He did it in the living room while I was there. So no, it's been a great experience so far being here in Orange County. Thanks to all the fans. We'll do our best to turn this around, and looking forward to seeing you guys all at the game on Saturday.
Awesome. Well, everyone, this has been Orange County's utility man playing all over the pitch, Nico Benalcazar. Thank you as always, Nico, for joining us, and best of luck to you and the team heading into the first match of the Jägermeister Cup this coming weekend against Las Vegas.
Thank you so much. Great meeting you guys.
Thanks, Nico.
Awesome.
See you guys.
Well, there we go. Nico joining us on the show. It was a fun opportunity to get to speak with Nico and hear from him, and hear the story about why he picked Orange County, or why he came here, what he loves about it, how he's getting along with his new teammates. It's always fun. Dylan, your thoughts?
Yeah, he's only 23, but you get a sense that you can see why he was captain at Wake Forest, and this maturity on his shoulders, exactly what we need, obviously, out of a center back, but just a willingness as well to be out there, I think is, probably going to be good for the team in the long run.
Honest answers
Matt?
too. Shout out
Yeah.
to I don't. I mean, I love y'all, but man, I can't stand the saying what we want to hear answers. Give us honest answers. I want to hear when something's better from where you came from.
Breaking news: Matt Elder hates Tom Brewitt.
Hated those answers. I know you're lying. Come on.
Oh, Matt, you gotta love the passion and enthusiasm of his, taking on that captain role, the armed man for Orange County. He wants to be that leader. He wants to represent OC. I get what you're saying though. Yeah. Bring the honest answers. And part of why I like doing the rapid fire questions is you get to sort of learn a little bit more about the players, things that we typically wouldn't ask. And it gives us a good minute of information on a player. Let's do that. Yeah. And producer Andy wanted to make sure Matt knows that it may or may not be Tom Brewitt listening, but his Instagram is streaming the show. So, Mr. Brewitt, if you want, Matt's typically with the CLC. You can go let it be known if those answers were in fact true or not. Let's talk about this Jägermeister Cup match. We only briefly got into it before Nico joined us. What do you need to see, Dylan, from Orange County? We just faced Las Vegas a few weeks ago. It wasn't the result we wanted. Late minute goal for the opposition crushed the Orange County Hearts in hopes of a 1-point result. What do we need to see from Orange County in this match, in that sort of revenge match? And what do you think the result will be?
I think just a couple goals is need. What do I need to see from them? I need to see them trying, and trying to make it work and keeping their chins up. I think is, it's April. Like, we can talk about, it's not time to panic yet. But obviously I don't have to go out there on Saturday. I didn't have to go out there last Saturday, and show up and try. If does this cup mean anything? We didn't actually have an answer for that one earlier. So, if a tree falls in the forest, but just an improved performance is what I think we need to see. How does this one end? It's still a cup match, but I think the team's going to be anxious to right some wrongs. I'm going to go with a perhaps boring but possible 2-1 Orange County win.
Matt, let me ask you this. I'm going to ask it slightly different. Do you prefer Orange County goes all in on the Jägermeister Cup, or would you at this point rather just see them put out a team, hope they get results, and really focus more on the league play going forward?
Trying really not hard here not to make a Chelsea reference, but I want to win. I want to win cups. It's trophies are what it's all about. This is a realistic trophy. Let's win the cup. If we're really analyzing this, it's like, okay, do we want a chance at a trophy or maybe slightly higher in the standings? I don't think trying in the Jägermeister means we maybe make the playoffs or don't. I think it's more a matter of how high do we finish in the playoff spots. So for me, it means we maybe don't get a home game in the playoffs, but we win the cup. Take that every day. So for me, I'm always all for going all in on winning a cup.
I love that, and I now realize if we win the cup, we could chant for an entire year, Jägermeister champions. You'll never sing that. That opens up a whole new section of chants 100%. That we can terrorize opposing fans with. So it's well worth it. Are. Yeah. Well, now that I think about it, we have to win this match and every cup match following that.
Well, but the Jägermeister Cup is built differently, right? We don't technically have to win every match in the Jägermeister Cup because it's sort of a group stage to start it off, and then you move into maybe the knockout stuff. So technically, we don't have to win every match.
I don't want to go about this like Croatia in 2018. You walk your way into the final. I want to be exciting, and I want to let's dominate this thing. Now that I think about it, because I just want to talk trash.
Well, and yeah. I guess the cool thing about it all, right, is like Dylan said, we'd be able to sing that, and literally no other team that's existing in the USL infrastructure can sing that. because I think the one winner is no longer in the USL. So, yeah. Matt, you were going to say something.
No, absolutely agree.
Let's
Prediction.
see this. What are you
5-2.
expecting? 5-2.
Only
Floodgates
because of
open.
because like to me and the only logic behind this is that it was a 1-0 last time. That's going to be a like I feel like it's just because there's a 1-0 doesn't mean it's going to be another tight game. I think maybe this time it goes nuts. Both teams just go hell for broke and
Yeah, I wouldn't mind actually seeing that. I think if we're playing nervous or playing scared to concede, I don't think that's the best Orange County. We talked all preseason about being stacked offensively. Like, why not go for it? Let's go win 5-4. And, you know, if Shuttler happens to have a great match and keeps out 2 or 3 shots like we know he can, then we win 5-2 instead.
I also just expect an answer. I think the team, you know, it's been a couple tough results. I think the team really does come out and really go for it.
Just go for it all. Just try and outscore. Just score a bunch of goals. Who cares about maybe playing the best defense? I'm hoping that this is a victory for Orange County. I really want to see them get back on the winning side of things, and it's a perfect opportunity to do so. What was that?
So that's brave.
It is brave. I'm a brave person, if you didn't know. I always say the perfect answer, so you might not like it, Matt. Let's go. I'm gonna not be as crazy as Matt, but I'm not gonna be as conservative as Dylan. I'm gonna say 3-1 Orange County. I'm hoping for that type of result from the team. Maybe a brace from someone like a Mohamedou War, or maybe Liam McKinnon gets a brace and it opens up the net for him and he goes on a nice run from that. Really
McKinnon
quick.
hat trick, one from the halfway line. Bold prediction.
Yeah, with your score line, you have opportunities for hat tricks galore. Really just one hat trick, but yeah, that's that. Really quick before we wrap things up, I did want to ask one question. With we're 7 matches into the season, I'm not trying to stir up anything. I'm not trying to make people hate me, but our goalkeeper has a nickname, Shutout Shuttler. We're 7 matches into 2025, no shutouts. Is that nickname still allowed to be used? This is sort of a yes or no. If people want to chime into the comments, go for it. Dylan, is the Shutout Shuttler nickname still valid, or do we have to look at maybe hibernating that for a while?
Buddy, you introduced this podcast as the podcast of champions, and we last won in 2021. I do want to take a moment to acknowledge that if Liam McKinnon scores from the halfway line, DK will give Matt $20 and a kiss. So I really hope he's just taking pot shots from the half he gets on the ball and is just launching it towards the goal.
How about this, Dylan? Maybe we pay the Vegas goalkeeper $20 to let one of those go in, so then we get to see that all happen, and maybe we'll give him a shout out on our show.
That should work.
So you don't want you're not going to officially answer the question I posed to you, Dylan. What about you, Matt? Do we have to retire, at least temporarily, the nickname of Shutout Shuttler at this point, based on the?
I don't know that I've ever called him that, but sure. I mean, all I'm thinking about right now is what was I don't know if it was on the show, but the over/under on his clean sheets this year is not looking great. Was it 11? Was the line?
Was it 10 or 11? Yeah.
11 was
so
the line.
So far, off to a bad start.
We'll have to go back on the tape of that. And I'm the one that sort of set those lines because no one else wanted to set lines, and I thought those were good lines, really. But yeah,
that was the bad line, but not looking good.
But
so
yeah,
far.
look at it now, man. If that was the bet, whoever put that bet in on Vegas for the under is looking pretty good. Okay, so we got your opinions. I'm thinking I'm going to stop using Shutout Shuttler for a while. Maybe that'll motivate the defense to help out their goalkeeper and stop giving some easy shots on target, and also just maybe motivate Colin Shuttler to don't let the ball in the net. Who knows? Dylan's looking at me like, what's going on?
Yeah, I just, you know what? Okay, this is your 5-0 opposite team. It's fine as long as you're happy.
Hey, I already retired because if you weren't here, you guys weren't here last episode, but I did a shot of Malort on air, hoping that would set some sort of run, like straight Malort, not the Caroline Coalition watered down cactus cooler version. This was straight Malort that I took a shot of last week, and it didn't help anything. So I'm retiring that as well.
We don't do that anymore, Ray. It shows how often you're around.
Yeah, it does. Why did you stop? Why?
We take the shot of Malort. We just don't. There's no mix to it anymore.
Oh, you don't water it down anymore. Okay, good. Well, I have a bottle minus or 2 bottles minus 1 shot because I took it last week that I'll bring to the next match that I make, so we can partake in it. Maybe Dylan will be there and he can take a shot with us as well. With that said, let's wrap things up. Any last things soccer related that y'all want to discuss quickly before we wrap this up? And if not, we can just move right along.
Let's keep on trucking.
We'll move right along. Dylan, what did you learn this episode?
I learned that that DK is willing to give Matt a lot if Ryan McKinnon scores. A lot. More than I thought. I mean, $20 a kiss and some more.
Wait, and s'mores or some more?
And some more.
Okay, well, that's very interesting. Matt, what did you learn this episode?
Oh, God. You might have to go first. I don't know. That's a good question.
Okay. What did I learn this episode? I learned when Matt hates it when someone gives like the corporate answers to questions. Matt, what did you learn this episode?
I mean, Nico is definitely wise for his years, I think. He had some really good answers, just some really, for a guy that's 23, 24, whatever he is. Some really good answers and just a stand-up dude. And he gives honest answers. I like that about him.
Okay, one last thing I'm going to say I learned, because that was the joke that I said is I've learned that we actually have players on the roster that actually do their homework now before coming on our show. They actually listen to our show. They actually know what to expect on the show. It's 2025, Dylan. We've made it. This is the magic part here is the players are actually prepared and know what to expect when they come on our show. That's pretty cool because I remember there were times where they had no idea what was going on and who we were. So this is fun.
Nico's been a fan since the Wake Forest days. He's been watching the show.
Nice. It was all part of his, he didn't want to shout us out because it would seem kitschy, but we brought him here. Yeah.
Yes. With that said, I want to thank everyone, all of the listeners who were listening live and partaking in the comments, throwing out questions for our guest, Nico Benalcazar. Hey, by the way, thank you to our guest, Nico Benalcazar, the utility man for Orange County Soccer Club, plays all over the pitch wherever is needed. My co-host for this episode, Dylan, and CLC's Matt Elder. Before I shout out our producer, he's making sure, we want to make sure you know this. Remember to like, share, subscribe on all of our social media, including Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or X, whatever you call it, YouTube, Blue Sky, Threads. Follow our podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. We typically release our episodes within 24 hours of the live stream, so you can listen to it that way. Preferred method is through Spotify. If you have a Spotify account, follow us there. You can actually watch the video on Spotify or listen to us just audio-wise if you want. For also producer Andy, I'm Ray. This is the Orange and Black Soccer Cast. We are out.